to move into the shed. The shed in Scotland. The millionaire living in a shed. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, welcome back. For the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll notice I'm not in my usual setting. I have moved down into my bedroom, so what you see behind me is my bedroom. My little thing that normally goes behind me with all the pictures and stuff on it, I'm in the process of redoing. Although, having sat here today, set up my camera and checked what everything looks like, I have no idea how it's going to fit. So we're going to make it and we're going to see how it goes. So hopefully for the next video, my background will be sorted back out. First of all, I have to apologise because I lied about Mother's Day and I'm so sorry. I bit off slightly more than I could chew with the case that I was looking into. I thought it would be that I could bang out the script in a day, and 4 days later I was still stuck on it because there was just the most insane... I've never found so much information about a case before. I was very overwhelmed with it. I'm still writing it now. So as soon as I do finish it, I will publish it because it's a good one, but it's gonna be long. It's gonna be very long. So I will get around to that at some point. I'm very sorry if anyone was waiting for it. So I think that's about all of the updates from me. You'll also have to let me know how the lighting is in this video because that's dying already. I've got some, like a little light on top of my iPad that's I can see it dying in front of my very eyes. TikTok lights, they sell you the world and I just get scammed. So today I'm going to be doing a British case that takes place in September of 2009. It's the case of Harry Jarvis. I don't think I have any trigger warnings for this case. Cheating, if that's a trigger warning. But that's it, just a content warning as always of strong language, and let's get on with it. Harry was working as a bus driver in central London when he first met Carol, and as soon as he saw Carol, he set his sights on marrying her. He basically spotted her and went, that is the woman I'm going to marry. I say woman very loosely. Carol was 17 years old at the time. She was probably in school uniform. Well, she said, yeah, she was 17. I think she was using the bus for school. And Harry was 29, which just, it's not illegal, but it's not right, is it? It's very Paul Breach. The couple met in 1977, and it's fair to say Carol's parents weren't over the moon with Harry. He was a very heavy drinker, and because of the age difference, there was a massive power imbalance between the two of them, which is always concerning. They married very quickly after meeting and started a family. They had 3 children together and they were each a year apart. Not long after having all the children, they decided that London life just wasn't for them anymore, so they moved as far away from London as humanly possible. They moved to Scotland, about 400 miles away from where they originally were. The couple had previously been on holiday there and they just absolutely loved it. They moved to Bathgate. I forgot to mention that earlier, I apologise. Carol absolutely loved being in quite a quiet community and became a brownie leader as well as being a full-time mum, and she absolutely loved being a mum. From the sounds of what her children have to say about her and her friends and family have to say about her, she was just brilliant. She was the most devoted, caring mother you could ever ask for. Harry, on the other hand, wasn't around a lot. He was still a bus driver and he would take trips from between London and Scotland. So he wasn't there much, but by the sounds of what most people say, even if he was there, he wouldn't have really been much help. My favourite saying, from the outside looking in, they seemed like the perfect family. And as well as Carol being an amazing, devoted mother, she was a devoted wife as well. But Harry, as well as being not an amazing father, he also wasn't an amazing husband. He would take these long trips. Obviously, he was working, going back and forth all the time, so he wasn't in the family home a lot. And then sometimes he'd just disappear for days at a time and no one knew where he was, what he was doing, who he was with, and when he'd be home. But this just became, it happened so frequently, it just became the norm, which, hell no. Harry seemed to live a completely separate life from the rest of his family, and this started to make Carol slightly suspicious as she felt she didn't really know her husband that well. Harry had previously been convicted of fraud and embezzlement the year before in London, which might be why they had moved. And he was essentially a con man. But trying to keep your work and your personal life separate can sometimes be quite hard, and they can spill into each other. So being a con man at work and then being a con man in your normal and family life seem to be quite intertwined. And just to top off Harry's amazing person checklist, he was described as a pathological liar. In 2000, when Carol was 38 years old, she was struck down with a degenerative muscle condition which left her being wheelchair bound. So Harry, for once, had to step up and actually look after the family because Carol was no longer able to do everything on her own and look after everyone else as well. This meant that Harry eventually gave up working to become Carol's full-time carer. So now the family had to survive purely on Carol's benefits. This tragedy for Carol was now a complete win for Harry because he now had even more freedom. Not that he needed any more, it seemed like he just did what he wanted, but now he's got even more freedom. And Harry then decided to start looking for new sexual partners, and in 2008 he met someone online, I believe, called Rita Hester. This is the part of the story that makes absolutely no sense to me, and it will make no sense to you shortly once I explain everything, because this is a very odd case. It's just, there's no other word, it's just weird. So Rita was on face value a millionaire. Her father, it was her adopted father, had recently passed and she had inherited a eye-watering amount of money. But Rita had no self-control and no discipline and just was very frivolous with it, and she might as well have set it on fire. She just burned through it. But to a lot of people around her, including Harry, she was a millionaire, which is more than likely why Harry wanted a relationship with her. Okay, so we get into the super odd bit now. So Harry decides to fit out his garden shed with a mattress, some blankets, a bowl, and really basic things to make it livable, for Rita to move into the shed in Scotland, the millionaire living in a shed. It's just so weird. So Harry saw Rita as not only a sexual partner but as a bank, I guess, and the only thing in the way of him living this lavish lifestyle was Carol. From what I understand, Rita and Carol weren't the only women in Harry's life, and he was just a bit of a hoe. So I believe Carol did know about some of the affairs that had been having, as, like I said previously, he did just disappear for days and days at a time. So it'd be hard not to make assumptions or even find out what had been going on. As far as we know, she didn't know that Rita was living in her garden shed. It's believed that Carol tolerated Harry's behaviour and his promiscuities because of the children. Like I said previously, she was just such a devoted mother. She didn't want to put any strain or stress on the children, and she didn't want to break up the home. So she just put up with it, which is really sad. Harry and Rita's relationship seemed to move very quickly, and Rita's friends did actually warn her and say, you know, you need to slow down a bit, calm down, be careful, you know, like good friends would. But Rita didn't care, and she moved into the shed. Now, the neighbours knew Rita was in the shed. They knew this woman was living in the shed. It's just, why would you not? Why? I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I saw my neighbour having a mistress in the shed. I'd do something. I wouldn't just, I don't know. You feel like they'd do something. If you see someone living in a shed, you'd call someone. There must be someone that you can ring for that, or go and talk to the wife that lives in the house, maybe. Like, I mean, you'd think she was a squatter or something, wouldn't you? It's just very odd. She must have been freezing. It's said that Rita went along with living in the shed because she thought this was temporary, and then her and Harry were going to go and live this amazing lavish life. It blows my mind to the point that I don't really have words, because Harry still thinks she's a millionaire. What other millionaire is living in someone else's shed? No one. No one. Harry is still Carol's full-time carer, so this means he's in charge of her medication. So when he wants a bit of extra freedom, he just doses her up and just gives her enough medication to knock her out for the day. And eventually Carol's children start to clock onto this and go, well, when you're away for 3 days, she seems fine. But when you're here, she can't get out of bed and she can't even wake up. But I feel like they felt, because it's their parents and they didn't know about any of the affairs, that they didn't say anything. Because, I mean, you just wouldn't think your dad would do that to your mum, would you? So Harry started to send letters to Rita, which again I just find really bizarre, because she's 2 feet away in your garden and phones existed at the time. So I don't know why he was sending. Maybe it was to be romantic. I don't know. One of the letters he sent to Rita quite obviously showed his true intentions of what he was trying to do to Carol. I will post a picture of it, but it said something along the lines of, drugs are doing the job, just taking longer than I thought. Go in fast now, we'll be in paradise soon. And this, apparently, I don't know what Rita thought the situation was. I don't know if she thought they were getting divorced or if she literally was on death's door. It's just, I don't know. Rita receiving this letter, it seemed to cause no alarm bells. Nothing was working up there. And she didn't think, that sounds dodgy. Sounds like he's trying to kill her. Because it does. I don't have words. It's just so weird. On the 11th of September 2009, Harry is in town and he runs into one of his sons. And his son described him as being kind of shocked with, like, he was shocked in his demeanour, like by Harry's demeanour, and just how weird he was being. And he started asking questions about his mum and he just wasn't really getting much of an answer, and he just thought, something doesn't feel right. Harry was coming up with really weird, random explanations as to where Carol was. And he said she was in Dundee. And the kids were quite rightly so, but why is she in Dundee without you? Why are you not there? Like, what's going on? So all the children spoke to each other and they all turned up on their parents' front garden later that day. But Harry stuck to his story and said that she was in Dundee, but one of the children actually called the police because they were very concerned. So Harry did let the police into the home, and it's not funny, when they did, they found Rita under the bed. Now, Harry actually tried to pass off Rita as Carol and said, oh no, this is my wife, despite 30 seconds earlier saying, oh no, she's in Dundee. He's gone, oh no, this is my wife, this is Carol. But thankfully, one of the police officers actually knew Carol, so they went, no, it's not. Who is this? Harry told police that he was due to collect Carol from the train station the next morning. So the police said, we'll check back in 24 hours, but we're still going to continue to search the house because you're giving me weird vibes. And at 1 a.m. the following morning, the police found Carol's body under the floorboards in the bedroom. Now, there was kind of like a trapdoor, which I think was about 3 feet deep and 2 feet wide to get in. And I'll show pictures, but it's just full of shit. It's full of rubbish. And he had just wrapped Carol in like a duvet and parcel taped her up and then just dumped her under there like she was rubbish, and that's just disgusting. Immediately a murder inquiry was launched, but the pathologist could not determine a cause of death for Carol because her body was already quite badly decomposed. It's believed that Harry had planned to dispose of the body elsewhere, but when the children turned up on the house, he'd panicked. And by the time they had found Carol's body, Rita and Harry had vanished. But thankfully, both of them are quite thick. So they went to Perth and they walked out of an Airbnb without paying the bill. So we immediately had a connection as to where they were. So after they left the Airbnb in Perth, I believe they got on a train or a bus to go to Edinburgh. But this was obviously all caught on CCTV and things like this. So police were waiting for them at Edinburgh station. I don't know if it was bus or train, I apologise. They were both taken to Livingston police station and they were interviewed separately. Now, this is just the final smack in the face that you could give anyone. It's just horrendous. It's like there's a new way to degrade her even more, which is just shows exactly what kind of person he is, and it's just vile. So Harry said that Carol had died of a fit during sex. And he said that she liked to be choked and he had choked her with a rubber implement and then she had had a fit and died. Now, as degrading as this is, he had given everyone a pretty decent idea as to how Carol had actually died. because he doesn't know that the pathologist can't determine a cause of death. And he wanted to come up with a plausible explanation as to why she would have marks on her neck during our post-mortem. He said that he had placed her lovingly under the floorboards, and he had kept her there over the course of the weekend because he couldn't live without her, and he kept going down there just to be with her and talk to her and hold her, which is absolute horseshit. Rita, on the other hand, in the other interrogation room, was giving a very different story, and this woman, she was bragging that her and Harry were an item and that he was leaving Carol, and she had absolutely no idea that Carol had even died. She was under the impression that they had left where they currently were to go and set up their dream life together. He'd finally left Carol, and now they could go continue to live the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives that lasted 7 hours, maybe 10, if that. So both Harry and Rita denied murder. They were originally going to be tried together and have the same trial, but Rita's lawyer put forward that there was insufficient evidence that Rita had actually participated in the crime itself, and there was a fear that neither of them were going to get anything for it, and that wasn't an option. No one wanted that to happen. So Rita ended up being acquitted of murder and being charged with attempting to defeat the ends of justice. Harry, of course, was charged with murder, and during his trial, his story just kept changing. He couldn't stick to one story at all. It was just constant, just kept changing it, kept remixing it, and it was not fooling anyone. The letters that Harry had wrote to Rita earlier were a massive part of evidence, because this showed that the crime was not an accident. It wasn't a heat of the moment. It wasn't a fit during sex and he'd panicked and put her under the floorboards. It showed that it was absolutely premeditated, that he wanted her dead so he could go live this new life, which wouldn't have been what he thought it was going to be anyway, because his millionaire girlfriend didn't have a pot to piss in. She was living in a shed. So it's just the senseless killing of lovely Carol it hurts my head. On the 30th of March 2011, the jury returned a guilty verdict, and Harry was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 50 years. Rita was also found guilty, and she was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months. And that is the story of the mistress in the shed and the wife under the floorboards, which is horrendous, but it is just so mind-bending to think all of it. Like, someone living in a shed is hard to kind of comprehend enough, because who would do that? And the fact that he thinks she's a millionaire whilst she's living in his shed is even more like, really? And then there's a lot to unpack there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It is one of the weirder cases that I don't even know where I first heard about that, you know. If I do find where I found all the information, I will tag it, because I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good one, but it's really odd. It is mind-bendingly odd. But I hope you enjoyed it. So, positive thought of the day. My positive thought of the day is that I haven't gone and got like properly dressed up. I can't remember the last time I got like properly dressed up in like a lovely dress. I'm going to get my nails done. I can do my makeup all lovely, and I'm super excited. So I'm going out. So that's my positive thought of the day, because I'm really looking forward to it. So that's it from me. I will be back next week. I will be back with a special at some point on Mother's Day once I finish the bloody script, but it will be a long one. I have also got a really good script that I'm kind of waiting until my channel boosts a little more until I do it, because this script generally took me days. No, it took me longer than that, because I had to read a whole manifesto that made me want to stick my head in the oven. So once my following has kind of got back to where it was, I will definitely post that, because it is really good. But yeah, if you have any suggestions of anything you'd like me to cover, please let me know, because I'm always willing to learn about more and different cases, so please do let me know. Make good choices. Don't be naive. Just because it's not illegal doesn't mean it's right. Never agree to live in someone's shed. Don't get murdered, and I'll see you next week. Bye. stick. Oh, well, that was a scam. It told me it stuck to things. Everything's a distraction. I need to learn what all these little symbols on this mean, because I don't know. I just twist buttons and hope for the best. So, start over. I had 3 sons. Did they have 3 sons? No. Carol began to become. Is that? I'm not going to use it. Hell no. Does it say 2000? I can't see. What? Was a tragedy? Wait, what? It's just so weird. It's so weird. Okay. How do I explain this? It's so weird. It's just, I don't know.